Hello, and welcome to the second season of Academic Matters. I'm Joe Marbach, the Provost at Salle University. My first guest on today's show is Dr. Brian Goldstein, the new Dean of the School of Nursing and Health Sciences. Brian, welcome to the program, and more importantly, welcome to LaSalle.
Thanks, Joe. Good to be here, and it's wonderful to be at LaSalle.
Well, we're very excited that you've decided to join us, and for those in the viewing audience who weren't part of the search and didn't see your presentations, could you give us a little bit of your background, what your specialty is, and how you ended up at LaSalle?
Sure. I was born and raised in South Carolina. Some of my family still lives there. I left the confines of the South, went to Brandeis University as an undergrad in theoretical linguistics and cognitive science. Had a roommate from Wynwood who suggested I look at Temple for a master's program. And so I migrated a little bit south from Boston, the Boston area, down here to Philadelphia for grad school in speech-language pathology. I guess I was always LaSallian, and I didn't know it in the sense that I wanted a profession where I could convert or translate theory into practice. And so I took my knowledge in theoretical linguistics and transitioned that into a master's degree in speech-language pathology. I'd also, through high school and college, taken a lot of courses in Spanish throughout both high school and college, and went into the bilingual training program at Temple. And then after graduating, went back to the Boston area, worked at Massachusetts General Hospital for 2 years as a bilingual speech-language pathologist. Had been interested in research from my master's program, did a master's thesis where I look at how Spanish-English bilingual kids develop speech sounds, in particular examining how their development compares with monolinguals who are learning English and monolingual kids who are learning Spanish. Okay. And then when I went back into the PhD program at Temple, I extended that to look at kids with speech problems. Again, those who were Spanish speaking, to try and compare and contrast their development relative to monolingual speakers. And then my career has been about building that database along with finding both reliable and valid ways to test kids who have speech problems and then deliver treatment to them. Okay. My first faculty job was at St. Louis University in St. Louis, Missouri, and then I actually came back to Temple for a third time as a faculty member, spent 15 years there as a faculty member, 5 years as a department chair, 6 as a program director, and then this past year before coming to LaSalle, I was associate dean for faculty and academic affairs in the College of Health Professions and Social Work.
Okay. What attracted you to come back to Temple? Was there something unique or different about that experience?
I think there were probably 3 reasons, 2 professional and 1 personal. The personal one is my wife is from this area, and so we were desirous to come back to an area where we had family, which we did not in St. Louis. Professionally, there were 2 aspects that drew me back. One is an extant and burgeoning Spanish-speaking population, for which there is a minimal population in the St. Louis area. I was traveling an hour and a half to 2 hours for a research population for my work when I was in St. Louis. And then also there was a critical mass of faculty in my particular area, and so we were trying to create a center of excellence related to bilingualism, biculturalism within the Department of Communication Sciences and Disorders at Temple.
Okay. Now, Temple's right down the road, down Broad Street. What prompted you to consider LaSalle? It sounds like you had doing quite excellent work at Temple, a good career there. You decided to make a jump into administration and a jump up North Broad Street.
I did. I guess like many administrators, I became a chair in the sense because I was the only one who didn't stand back when they asked for volunteers. And I would say quite honestly that at first it wasn't my cup of tea, and I couldn't wait to get back, to be promoted back to faculty. I think over time what I found is I enjoyed the challenge of academic administration and really leadership over and above the management that one has to do every day to day to keep a department or to keep a dean's office flowing. But the leadership in order to develop people and develop programs and watch others flourish. My mindset really is, as dean, I see myself as a servant leader. And so I enjoy the process of helping others succeed. And so I would say it was a 7-year transformation from faculty member to desiring to move up in academic administration. Also, what cemented it for me was spending a 2-week intensive period at the Harvard Management Development Program in Cambridge last June, and that sort of cemented for me that although I enjoyed my teaching, I enjoyed my research, I love doing academic administration and felt like it would be something that I would want to pursue, and was thrilled to see the opening for the dean's position here at LaSalle.
Okay. What, you've only been in place a couple of months. What are your impressions of the School of Nursing and Health Sciences as somebody with a fresh set of eyes looking at the school?
Well, as I said before, I love being at LaSalle. I love coming here every day. It was definitely the right move for me. And I think part of the reason is what's going on in nursing and health sciences. The school has absolutely grown tremendously under Zane Wolf, the previous dean, and the current faculty, and that's really what drew me here, was the faculty and students. LaSalle is very well known in the area to put students at the center of everything that it does, and it lives and breathes, obviously, the LaSallian tradition. And so what I found here are faculty and staff and students who are committed to each other, committed to the educational process, and committed to student learning and education. And it's a joy every day to hear faculty and students talking about each other, about the wonderful experience they're having not only in their academic coursework, but in our school specifically, their clinical placements and field work and rotations. And I'm very much looking forward to sitting in on some classes, going out to field sites to see what people are doing live and in action in the quote-unquote real world.
Yeah. The school's, as you said, undergone some changes recently. It used to just be the School of Nursing, now it's Health Sciences. For the folks who aren't familiar with it, can you describe what programs exist in the school and what programs you're thinking of adding or expanding into?
Sure. So we are the School of Nursing and Health Sciences. Nursing has been the longest standing program within the school, and the other programs have been added within the last 11 years, I believe. So there's an undergraduate degree in health studies. There is a newly formed undergraduate degree, Bachelor's of Science in Public Health. There's also a Master's of Public Health, which is in its second year. There is the 2 programs within the program in nutrition, and undergraduate and graduate programs in speech language and in hearing science. The other new program is the Doctor of Nursing Practice, or the DNP, within the program in nursing. And it's probably too early or premature for me to talk about exactly what programs we're going to be adding in the future. One thing that we're talking about doing is building our Bachelor's of Science in Public Health program. That's a program in public health in general that's expected in the marketplace to grow about 9 to 10% over the next 4 or 5 years, and I think we can really capitalize on that. And it seems to be an area of interest for a great number of students.
Right. And in the nursing program, we offer kind of the full gamut of possible, the RN to BSN program, straight BSN, and masters, and
doctorate, right. And there are also certificate programs within the Master of Science in nursing. So school nurse, for example, is one of the certificates that we have within nursing.
Right, and one that I believe they're looking to put completely online.
Completely online, that's exactly right. So we've moved to that and have gone to the state to let them know of our plans, and that's one that's up and running right now.
Okay. But if students are interested in health sciences, what are some of the areas that they ought to be doing now? If they're in high school, what kind of classes should they be taking to get ready for a career in nursing or in speech language pathology?
I think the curriculum that they ought to be pursuing is one that puts them in good stead to succeed at a competitive university. And so a college prep curriculum in which not only math and science is obviously emphasized throughout nursing and health sciences, but also to have excellent communication skills, reading and writing skills. That is those things that are part and parcel of what we would look and see as a tradition-rich liberal arts curriculum.
Okay. So you're really looking at those key elements, especially in science and math, to get them professionally prepared, but then also the liberal arts communication skills that would be important?
Exactly. I think we often think of the professions within our school as technical in the sense of here's a number of skills you have to learn, and once you learn and master them, then you can go out and be a nurse or nutritionist or a speech-language pathologist. And that's true to an extent, but what we also have to do is participate in face-to-face communication and problem solve within a situation. You know, we don't have time to go back to our offices and sit and think for an hour and then come back and solve the problem. It has to be done immediately. And so coursework and experiences that allow students to problem solve, to think critically, are going to be highly valued in nursing and health sciences.
Okay. We've only got about a minute left, Brian. Your overall impressions have been very positive, and I know there's a lot of excitement with you coming on board. Just briefly, if you're looking at where the future of health sciences is this an area that is likely to grow, or have we seen it? What's the future, and how do people find out more about your program?
Right. Well, it certainly looks like it's going to continue to grow. If we put any credence in Bureau of Labor Statistics data, then the professions represented in the school, the ones I mentioned already, are expected to grow somewhere anywhere between 9 and 16% over the next 5 or 6 years. So I don't see any abatement in the growth in the jobs outlook, which means the pre-service education enrollment and growth ought to continue. The best place to get information is our website, lasalle.edu/SNHS, School of Nursing and Health Sciences.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, my guest during this segment has been Dr. Brian Goldstein, the Dean of the School of Nursing and Health Sciences at LaSalle University. When we come back, I'll be joined by Dr. Katie Bogle of the Department of Sociology, and we'll talk about some of her work and how she interacts with her students. Please come back.
For others, it may have just been a summer job. But for me, it was training. Now I'm an Air Force pararescueman, and my job is to save lives. Make the right choices today, and be ready for the challenges tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
So many kids' activities today seem to leave out the activity part. New research tells us that just getting children to walk an extra 35 minutes a day could spare them the pain of thinning bones later in life. Encourage your kids to get up, get out, and get moving.
Hello.
Hey, Grandma, how about another grape soda?
A public service message on building strong bones for kids from the Pediatric Orthopedic Society of North America and the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
Think you found every hazard out here today? Think again. The spot you missed could be a killer. That spot on your skin could be skin cancer. Fact is, if you're a man over 50, you're in a group most likely to develop skin cancer, including melanoma. the kind that kills one person every hour. 1 in 5 Americans is likely to develop a form of skin cancer during their lifetime. That's why your best shot is to check for a spot. It's easy. Follow through and check your skin. It could be the save of a lifetime. Go to spotskincancer.org to find out how. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Hello, and welcome back to Academic Matters. In this segment, I'm joined by Dr. Katie Bogle of the Department of Sociology. Katie, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Katie, you're entering your 6th year here at LaSalle. You just recently promoted to Associate Professor. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about how you came to LaSalle, your graduate career, and what brought you here, and then a little bit of what your research has been focusing on lately.
Well, I have this kind of lifetime connection to LaSalle. My dad actually grew up close to LaSalle and went to LaSalle High and college. My uncle went here, my cousin, and my best friend. So I think they liked that when I interviewed at LaSalle, that I kind of felt like I was a member of the family already. So I was really happy to come here. I went to St. Joe's University, which is of course a basketball rival, but is right down the road. And so it was an easy transition, both being Catholic institutions, being similar size. So I felt at home right away.
Okay. And you're in sociology. You've published a number of articles and a book in particular on hooking up, where you've been, which actually really looks at the dating patterns of college-age students at this time, right?
Yeah, I was really fortunate when I was in graduate school at University of Delaware to have a great advisor. And he said, you know, you spend so much time on this dissertation, don't get one journal article out of it, do something that could be a book. So I ended up wanting to study, how do college students, men and women, interact during college? How do they get together? And then how does life change once you leave the college environment, which was very sociological to look at the kind of differences in environment. So I ended up interviewing 76 people, 51 college students and 25 young alums. And I did 1 large state school and 1 smaller Catholic institution, which was not LaSalle, by the way. And when I analyzed them, I ended up finding really interesting things about how the hookup culture seemed to dominate in college. But then after college, the very same people seem to go on much more traditional dates. So I talk a lot in the book about how environments seem to facilitate the behavior more than just, you know, these young kids today being different than previous generations.
So it was norms related to kind of the residential life on campus and influencing
I mean,
what
one
they were
of the
doing.
things that college campuses, you know, they weren't designed to have this effect, but because everything is walking distance and, you know, students are in close proximity and they feel safe and they're not getting married for a long time, they feel really comfortable and relaxed hanging out with each other and having really casual relationships. Because they say, yeah, I definitely want to get married, but I might not want to do that for 5 years, or some of the people I interviewed said for 10 years. So they feel like they have all the time in the world to seriously date someone and kind of find their future spouse.
Okay, which I guess reflects the demographics that people are marrying later in age, and so you were seeing that reflected in their responses.
Definitely, yeah. The fact that people, I mean, I tell my students now when I teach a course here called Love, Marriage, and Parenting, and I tell them, you know, in the 1950s, you know, the average college man would be getting married right when he graduated at 22. College females would actually be getting married sometimes during college, or if you didn't go, by age 20. And they're just shocked to think that they would be like engaged now or getting married now.
Couldn't imagine, right, what
Right.
it would be like, right, okay. Well, tell me a little bit about how you deal with the students and your approach in the classroom, what types of courses you've been teaching.
Well, I'm lucky because I get to do courses in sociology and criminal justice. So my master's is in criminal justice, and my PhD is in so I get to do both. So this semester I've got social problems and policy, and what we're trying to do in our department is have more courses that can count for both sociology and criminal justice. So we do 2 books that focus on crime, and we do 2 books that are traditional sociology ones. And I'm really happy with the last one that we use. It's kind of about how to change the world, which is a really kind of Lasallian thing to look at. So rather than when I used to teach social problems when I was at St. Joe's, I felt like, oh, we're kind of depressed talking about all these problems in society and the world's got all these things going on. And so I said, you know, I have to find a book that says, you know, people are out there trying to change these things. People are out there trying to do something. I know we have the Lasallian Day of Service coming up, so we have things with that mentality in mind. So yeah, so I really like doing that, and I think students really responded well to, you know, the idea that not just in the U.S., but all over the world, people are coming up with ideas, trying to change their communities, trying to turn problems around.
Yeah, so of course it really helps empower students or show students that they can be empowered in different ways to make a difference.
Yeah, and we have a lot of students that are actually interested, especially on the sociology side in the nonprofit world. And as you know, we have the Nonprofit Center at LaSalle. So I've been trying to link students with talking to that director so they can find out more for jobs after college about jobs in the nonprofit sector.
Yeah. And that kind of is a nice segue into some of the new duties that you've taken on with regard to directing internships for students in sociology and criminal justice.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about some of those placements and what students are getting out of those placements.
Yeah, I was lucky to hit the ground running. We actually have a student who's doing an internship with the FBI, which is like the holy grail of internships because it's so competitive. When I talked to, even before I took over as director, I started kind of putting out feelers and talking to people in some of the federal agencies that our students were interested in. And they told us that, you know, we might get over 300 applicants for an FBI internship, and it was so competitive. So we're just thrilled that one of our LaSalle students is there. He loves it, and it's not just a kind of desk thing. They let him, you know, observe stuff in the field, and he's really kind of getting out there. I mean, actually, it was funny when I met with him. He said, you know, I can't tell you some of the things we do because everything's top secret.
I'll have to kill you if I tell you that sort of thing.
So yeah, so having a kid do something in the FBI, and then we actually also had someone do an internship with the Secret Service, which is also really difficult to get. So they were some of our top placements, but we have other things where people do stuff at nonprofit kind of places, victim services, things like that. We have a couple people doing probation and parole, which is actually like almost a combination of social work and criminal justice because you're dealing in the criminal justice field, but you're trying to help people turn things around and get reintegrated to life after prison. So we have a few people doing that. And we actually have someone that is just going to be starting an internship at the sheriff's office, and the person who is
Philadelphia?
in Montgomery
Oh,
County,
Montgomery County.
and the person who is the sheriff is a Lasallian grad who I had in class, who actually used to be a police captain in Plymouth Township, and now she's an elected official. So she wanted to kind of give back to LaSalle because she had such a good experience here. So she's taking one of our students in. So we're really happy about that.
Now, are internships required or just encouraged within the
They're
department?
encouraged. We actually don't want to require them necessarily because we want them to be competitive, that students have to keep a high GPA in order to do them. You know, so we want to send some of our best students out there. And I've really been amazed when I have supervised internships even before I took over as director. I always seek, of course, feedback from the place where they are. And you know, I had a student last semester who was at the DA's office, and I called them and talked to him and I said, you know, how did he do? You know, can you name something he could do better? And they said he couldn't have done anything better. And I'm just shocked sometimes that as good as our students are, I always think, well, there'll be something that they can do better. But we've really gotten positive feedback that they say, of course we'll take a LaSalle student again. So they've been representing us really well. And I think that's partially a function of them doing it junior or senior year when they're mature and they're kind of thinking about their careers. So it's really the right time to get out there.
Know what they want to do, right?
Yeah.
Well, in addition to serving as internship coordinator, you're also the director of women's studies on campus.
That's right.
Second year doing that.
Right.
What did you find is the challenge and the rewards of running those programs?
Well, the challenge with being director of women's studies is we're a little bit past the era where we have people who kind of just naturally are interested in that. You know, there's kind of the era where the women's movement was going on and women were kind of joining up, asking for equal rights. And I think a lot of young women today say, well, that's already happened. I'm here in college. The opportunities are there. So what I'm trying to do as director is think about, well, how is this relevant to young people today? How is it still relevant to them? So we're trying to pick topics that are student-friendly, have big programs on that. So we had a really successful program last spring in the Dan Rodden Theater, our big event place on campus. And we did a program teaming up with Student Life about body image, about eating disorders, and about how women are portrayed in advertising. And it was literally a sellout. Almost every single seat was taken in Dan Rodden, and it got some really good buzz on campus. And this fall, we're actually teaming up with your home department, Political Science, and we're doing a program on October 2nd about how, of course, it's a big national election coming up. And a big thing in the world of women's studies is how does gender issues intersect with race and class. So we're doing a program about how will race, class, and gender determine the winner. And we have Chip Gallagher in sociology, and then 2 people in political science, Mary Ellen Balkunas, who's very involved in the world of politics, is a delegate for the Democratic National Convention. And we have Miguel Glatzer, who came to us from Harvard, I believe, and he's going to talk about social class. So we really have 3 experts who literally are right on my hallway who can speak to this, and we're going to hold the event in the Holroyd Atrium. So we're pretty excited about that.
Now, right now, women's studies is a minor?
Women's Studies is a minor, and it goes across all different disciplines. So students could take classes in English and sociology and psychology, philosophy. So they can take it across a lot of different disciplines, and we're hoping to expand that to the business school also. I'd love to see a course on advertising and gender, or things like that. So that's some of the things we're looking to do in the weeks to come.
So you've got a challenge in expanding the program.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Katie, we're just about out of time. I want to thank you for coming on and telling us all about your research and the work you've been doing with our students in the internship and the Women's Studies program. Once again, my name is Joe Marbach. I'm the Provost at LaSalle University. My guest has been Dr. Katie Bogle in the Department of Sociology and Criminal Justice. I have to get that right, or Chip Gallagher will be sending me hate mail. Please join us for our next episode of Academic Matters, and thank you for watching.